So Amardeep will read out his self-composed poem called Because I Had To. I welcome everyone to join all of us to give him a round of applause. Thank you.
So this poem that I'm going to read is called Because We Had To. So yeah, let's start going to discussion. We can go into discussion after the poem. Let me read it first to set the mood. I was born in Bajjika's cradle, where words curled soft like river waves, where Madhubani colors told our tales, where Soha songs blessed newborn cries, and Kohbar walls held love in pain, older than maps, older than kings. Then Hindi took my hand in school, letters lined in careful rows. I entered the literary world of Kabir, Rahim and Meera. Each page a bridge, a stepping stone, my first test of translation. Bangla wrapped around my childhood, a melody woven into Kal Boishakhi rains, a language that rose in protest songs, where I learned my right to dissent, as I learned how we become through everyday hands, raised and linked. Then English, crisp and edged with rules, built my world in measured lengths. It let me dream in global hues, turn whispers into wings of flight. And now, in Montreal's winter air, French greets me with a patient smile, a tongue that twists a path untread, yet another dance with time and place. But these are merely forms of breath, mere sounds, mere echoes in the wind. What is a word, if not a vessel for the movement underneath? For movement is the ancient pulse, the force that shaped the world we know. Before these tongues were even named, our feet had traced the earth like rivers flow. Before borders carved the land apart, before passports stamped our fates, humans wandered. Birds took flight, whales swam vast and wide like fate. And yet, today, the lines grow thick, etched in fear and sharpened speech. They say we take, they say we steal, they build their walls in votes and deals. They turn our steps into a threat, our names into a cause for doubt. They twist our tongues, our work, our skin into slogans they can shout. They gather crowds with promised walls, claim the land is theirs to keep. But tell me, did the wind not move before a flag was made to sweep? And tell me, who decides the right to stay, to leave, to claim the night? When even geese refuse to nest where winter makes the rivers bite. To migrate is to simply be. To chase the sun, to seek, to flee. From hunger, war, from love, from light, from ancient callings in the night. And though each land may call me guest, through tongues may twist and lips may rest, I am, I was, I will remain a traveler through shifting names. For language changes, land divides, but movement is what never dies. We are not still, we never were. The earth is vast, our feet must turn. And so I walk, and so I learn, new words to shape, new sounds to turn. Yet what I seek is not just speech, but echoes of the steps we teach. I am a migrant, you are too, in words, in flesh, in all we do. And long before we spoke at all, we moved, because we had to.
Welcome all. Bangla is my mother tongue and I can express myself best when I speak Bangla. I have chosen this poem as I feel this poem best illustrates my feeling while talking in my mother tongue. বাংলা ভাষা উচ্চারিত হলে কবি শামসুর রহমান। বাংলা ভাষা উচ্চারিত হলে নিকানো উঠোনে ঝরে রোদ, বারান্দায় লাগে জ্যোৎস্নার চন্দন। বাংলা ভাষা উচ্চারিত হলে অন্ধ বাউলের একতারা বাজে উদার গৈরিক মাঠে। খোলা পথে উত্তাল নদীর বাঁকে বাঁকে নদীও নর্তকী হয়। যখন সকালে নতুন শিক্ষার্থী লেখে তার বাল্য শিক্ষার অক্ষর, কাননে কুসুম কলি ফোটে। গোরাখালের বাঁশি হাওয়াকে বানায় মেঠো সুর, পুকুরে কলস ভাসে। বাংলা ভাষা উচ্চারিত হলে চোখে ভেসে ওঠে কত চেনা ছবি। মা আমার দোলনা দুলিয়ে কাটছেন ঘুম পাড়ানিয়া ছড়া, কোন সে সুদূরে সত্তা তার আশা বড়ি। নানি বিষাদ সিন্ধুর স্পন্দে দুলে দুলে রমজানি সাঁঝে ভাজেন ডালের বলা। আর 21-এর প্রথম প্রভাত ফেরি অলৌকিক ভোর। নমস্কার।
Thank you all so much for having me, and for the people who really organized it, like the nuts and bolts of it, congratulations on a really successful event. I'm going to read 3 poems. I think they're all, in some capacity, thinking about the relevancy of language in different ways. I'll provide some very brief context as I go. My first poem is about Jivananda Das, who will be familiar to most of you. For those who don't know him, he is very important, perhaps the most important modern Bengali poet. So my poem actually picks up from his death, which is very peculiar because he was hit by a tram while walking in Calcutta. And he shortly after died in the hospital. And this is quite interesting, and there's a lot of mystery surrounding his death because trams move quite slow. So there's the question of whether this was intentional or not. What was he thinking about when he died? What was he dreaming about? What was he writing in his head? The poem is called Jivananda's Ghost Tram. No respite these resplendent summers, beads of light sweating down street lamps into gutters, arati cinders simmer in pistons. You trawl your bone-dry fountain pens along Kolkata's concrete, corralling orphan strands of moonlight, starlight, night after night, but tonight no imagery glistens. Each poet will write their own hell. In mine, like yours, I'll be condemned to beauty. Brake screeching malaria, engine dust gasping, the lone mosquito who followed you to death drumming in your ear. You pay unending tariffs with lunar images. Full moon, a lingam's tip clinks in the tollbox, fee to Cheyenne Bajar, but far cries from cliffs of crude moonlight you dream of, iron rails staked to grooves of air. Full moon like a beggar's cataract, barely a single fare. Did an image of the moon kill you, paralyzed by an eclipse of beauty? Or was it an everyday word suddenly blinding? Brihospativar. Storm clouds massive as a god's casket hauled beyond horizon. Scattered stars set up stalls. But no more moons tonight. Not for you with those worn eyes. Ashes of the dead wash up on the banks of the Kirtan Kola, banks of the Bishkali. Trail your tram in a kilometer-long jute noose, hungry for nets. Hound you with the same question people of the earth once begged. Jivanananda, is there another world? And the second poem I'll read is a sonnet. For those of you who don't know, the sonnet is a very important Western poetic form. It develops, if I'm not mistaken, in 13th century Italy, and then by roughly the 16th century it's come into English, and it kind of migrates all over the world. So it's usually a 14-line poem, and usually 2 different sections. So there's the first section, which is 8 lines, and the second section, which is 6 lines, and some kind of movement between them. So in particular, I was interested in a form of the sonnet called the double sonnet, which was kind of inaugurated by a Toronto-based named Doyali Islam in her book F. She's one of my favorite contemporary poets. And so basically the double sonnet has two different sides with a space in the middle. And she writes her whole collection of poetry half in this way. So I kind of wanted to pick up on this form, and I was really interested in ways of doubling and thinking about pairs and oppositions. So the poem is about two brothers, so you'll see this kind of pairing again, and thinking in different ways about the nature of language. Can you still hear me at the back? Yeah, okay. The poem is called Anecdote on Urdu. Our Dada's Bangla ferried him from philosophy to foolery, after Bazar Adda and jackfruit jalebi to Nur Janan's jewelry. Evening, seated leg on knee, in shade of his mango tree, sipping lemon ginger tea gingerly to the tune of tutuntuni. Persian even sweeter, he savored Saadi's paradise, but Urdu, his final language, saved us. Early 50s, soldiers track the village gossip to my family gates, demand my grandmother, a teenage bride in Purza. Dada empties his clay cup to the earth, affirms in Aligarh's Urdu they cannot enter, empties Bengali peasant of illiterate, frail, feminine. Brother, do you understand how we are at the mercy of language? War repours itself between Bangla and Urdu, the latter stamped as nearest to Islam, the language of God. Woman raped, woman drowned in wells. Isn't each language from the earth's roots, before God plucks it for his own devices, returns to humans what humans created? Wasn't God simply a word in a man's mouth, a simple syllable seeking to fill its cup? Do you understand how language is at the mercy of us, beings who can be so unmerciful? God, that than which nothing greater can be imagined, whom men of no imagination dilute with weak wine. So much cruelty cloaked in claims to the divine. Across the globe, a man in Lahore makes a promise he will break. Another makes a promise he will keep forever. And the last poem I'll read is a poem that's a work in progress. It's very much a draft, and I was thinking a lot about Montreal. So for those of you who don't know, the city, like I think a lot of other large cities throughout the world, has really changed in the last 5 or 10 years, especially around housing and affordability. The current government has secured its mandate largely by, I think, claiming to protect the French language, even though they've defunded all sorts of French language programs. They've systematically dismantled rights for tenants. And just last year, Francois Legault, the premier of the party, claimed that, quote, the housing crisis is 100% the fault of immigrants. So it's part of this kind of larger xenophobic rhetoric, I think, that we're seeing throughout the world. So this is kind of the social context for this poem that I was thinking of. It's partially in French. My French is quite poor, but I tried to bring it in there for reasons that I think will become apparent. And I'll translate the French as I'll go for this poem because I know everyone in here might not speak French. Ma ville demeure me rend. T'oublies tout, my neighbor's voice, how I barely know his face. So my city of whispering walls. Do you remember my neighbor's voice, how I barely knew his face? Son pays natal, la Côte d'Ivoire, and demi-world away. His home country, the Ivory Coast, half a world away. Are they at peace? Now at au revoir to dreams of windows facing east, and wonder, is morning light somehow softer? Its atoms raised by gentler mothers? Birds of paradise gorging on the feast. Even evening's regal streak across this kitchen counter's costly, weighed per single grain of beauty, frost chatoyant per lure of luster. Yet, Park Jarry's argent fields we still traverse, as if its ordinary grass were made for us ordinary to grasp la seule promesse qu'une ville nous offre, un endroit pour tout. The only promise that a city can offer us, a place for everyone. Ma ville, où son terre rouelle envahie d'enfants, l'ange de quartier qui chante sur son balcon, ses murs fins que des paupières, des trottoirs du matin toujours collants de bière. My city, your ruelles full of children, the neighborhood angel who sings on her balcony, your walls thin as eyelids, your morning sidewalk still sticky with beer. My neighbor's eyes on mine like, where are we supposed to go? Oh Montreal, last Christmas, you gifted rain instead of snow. Thank you all.